And joining me tonight is Michael.
Hello.
And it's just going to be me and Michael. So, uh,
The usual. It's Friday night.
it's Friday night. We're bored as shit. Um,
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I mean, it's Friday night. What better way to spend Friday night than with you guys?
yeah. Uh, and we're returning back to Star Ocean because, hey, recent announcement with Star Ocean. Brief moment while I adjust a few things. Sorry, people. Thought I had gotten this taken care of. There we go. And should we do the private action, or should we move on to the next town?
I mean, private action is part of kind of the storyline, or the maybe not storyline per se, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
It's part of the role play aspect of this role playing game.
and it
That
does factor into the Okay, give me a moment right here, because I'm going to do something real quick, because for some odd reason, the emulator, RetroArch, is not input. Okay,
it looks like the emulator is being bratty.
okay.
Now, while we're going through and figuring out what's going on with the emulator, one of the reasons that we're playing this, of course, other than the fact that we started this previously, and this is one game that we're definitely going to try and take all the way through to completion, is also because Star Ocean 4 recently had an HD 4K remaster released for the PS4, the PC, and did the Xbox get a version of it too?
It was PS4 and PC only.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess if you're an Xbox user, it sucks to suck.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not really. Like, you guys have games that I probably wish I had. But then again, I could probably get them for PC, so I guess it's not a huge deal, and you can get this for PC, or, well, Star Ocean 4 for PC. Getting this for
Hmm.
has
Oh, snaps. I did the wrong. Oh, shit. I did a bad personal action.
you did a bad personal action?
Uh, if I recall, if you walk in on Reyna as Claude alone, I think this actually gets you less, uh, I want to say love points and less friendship points. I think it actually deducts them.
Oh. For being creepy and stalking her in her room.
Yeah,
I mean, she could have been in there. She could have been in there doing anything.
yeah. Uh, oh boy. And this is the other aspect of personal actions is that ending system that we talked about last time we played this. Personal actions play a lot into it, and technically
Yes, they do.
and as such, you can boost uh, affection and friendship, but you can also deter it. And there is a way of turning this one into a good action. I just don't recall it. I think it is. I kind of want
Honestly, I
to.
don't remember.
Well, we're going to basically be doing this. We're going to say fuck it to whatever ending we get.
I think if I'm not mistaken, one of those is good for friendship and one of those is good for romance.
And one was just bad overall. I
So here's the thing. So at the end of the game, every single character that you recruit throughout this game will get an ending. You will have an ending for every single character. Some of them may share, some of them may not. If you have a character that doesn't have particularly strong levels with any other character, they'll get a solo ending.
Yep. And I think
like,
I
for
chose.
example, Claude's solo ending would be that he goes back to the Earth Federation, and it just is, works for them and have. Oh, sorry, spoiler. Your main heroes don't die at the end of the game.
Yeah. And I think I chose the worst. I think I chose the worst one.
Yeah, I saw that little anger cloud. She was not pleased with what you said.
Yeah. Also, private action in this town.
Because, of course, you have private actions in every single town.
And some
for those of you who may have seen the Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, I did kind of hint that as we played tonight, we're going to find some new locations and some new characters, and that's definitely going to happen. We just want to go through a bit more of the role play, especially the role play between the characters.
Yeah.
As we go.
Jam Store, Dolphin Kick. I like how every place has a title to it. Even if it's like one of the most like, what the hell?
Like the Jam Store?
The Jam Store, Dolphin Kick.
Yeah, it doesn't really explain why.
No, it doesn't.
And it probably never will. Yeah, one of the other cool things is as we go through and recruit the various characters, we can then turn around and go back to the older cities and have different events with them. And also, there are certain options for private action that either are part of a private action chain, where you can go out of the city, go back in, get the next one, go out, go back in, get the next one. Or that will only show up when you have given characters at a certain relationship level.
And I think
like there's one in particular I'm thinking of where you've got two characters that I always recommend getting together. That when they have an affection level of 8, which 8 is the cap, you get a private action for them in a certain town, and it actually unlocks the ultimate killer art for one of them, or not ultimate, but near ultimate.
Yeah. As well as I think the only way to get one character is through a private action.
Yes.
Is it the husband?
Actually, technically 2 characters. Actually, technically both characters, both husband and wife. Because you have to see the private action, and you have to get the wife for the husband to show up.
Yeah, and in order to get the husband, you have to do a private action someplace. Because then you find the wife. You stumble upon the wife doing some, basically protecting her husband.
Not
really?
Exactly.
No, it's been so long.
You stumble upon the wife finding the husband's, shall we say, vehicle.
Yeah.
And so you have to get her and then go to a different place and do a private action there. And then you go to another different place and do a private action, and then you go to another place and it's just regularly there. Then you find them.
Yeah. As well as, once again, getting into differences between the PSP remake and the original, is that I believe this private action was actually changed from a private action to an actual in-game cutscene in the PSP remake.
No, not this one. I know what you're thinking of. There is another one that's very. There's a number of cutscenes and private actions that occur on this bridge. But this specific one did stay as a private action of him thinking about his father.
Yeah, it's just the one major difference is that the PSP remake. They did mention that they did try to keep almost all of the endings, but they had to cut a lot of the private actions that didn't really affect characters, which technically in the original one, I think every private action affected the friendship or are we saying love or interest? Because I'm going to use
not every. For example, the one I was mentioning before with the 2 characters and the killer art.
Yeah.
That one has no effect on the main character's levels with any. There's a few that have no effect at all, no matter what you choose or what you do. There's also, and this is not really a spoiler, but is also it's more just kind of a cool thing. There is a very specific chain of events which can only be activated by private action. That if you hit that chain of events in the entire chain in order, actually changes the final boss fight.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. So essentially, it's something. Essentially, it's called a limiter. And by hitting that specific chain of events just right, you actually remove the limiter on the final boss. So the final boss goes from being a moderate challenge at level 60 to an incredible challenge at level 170 plus.
And as a heads up, and this is not spoilers either, the health levels and enemy health levels and damage stuff can get dangerously high in Star Ocean games.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because
not to mention. Oh, go ahead.
Because I just recently finished watching an LP on Final Fantasy 13-2, and most of the secret / hidden bosses were, it's somewhere in the millions. And I sat there for a moment after been playing Star Ocean, Integrity and Faithlessness, and go like, they've only got in the millions? Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Because generally, and this is not really spoilers again, most of the final bosses, most of the late game bosses actually, are in the hundreds of millions of health points.
Yeah, with the final boss of the hidden everything having, I want to say, like 12 bill.
Yeah, the secret boss in the hidden dungeon is in the bills.
Yeah, I believe he was like about 12 bill. Maybe it was like more like 10, but it was right in that range.
I think it's 12. But yeah.
Oh, wait, no, I know what it is. In this one, because in this one there's 2 final ultimate secret final bosses.
Yeah.
The initial one had 6 bill, and then the item that you get from that one can be crafted to make a special instrument that's used to summon the true ultimate final secret boss, which has 12.
Yeah. And
if you didn't follow any of that, don't worry about it. If you did follow it, definitely awesome on you, because you know about something that a lot of people did not have the time and patience to go down and unlock.
Or if
hopefully beat.
Or if you did not have a guide or have access to GameFAQs, if you stumbled upon it out of nowhere at the time it came out, which the only really way to get access to certain things is essentially either getting the game guide, which I technically have packed away somewhere, or you had to use GameFAQs, because in a game this extensive, and at the time that it came out, the only other way to get information was essentially word of mouth, since A, the internet was not that big of a deal, and B, some people didn't want to pay 20 some odd bucks for a game guide. Which nowadays,
honestly fair.
Yeah.
Even then, honestly fair. One of my rules of thumb with RPGs, especially anything in the Final Fantasy series or in this series, is first playthrough, no guides whatsoever. Not even looking up, like, not even, oh, I'm stuck on this quest, let me just look up. No, nothing. I play it the way that the game was intended to be played, which is purely on the game's context clues. Sometimes that is a royal pain, but you know what? I'm doing it. I have too much pride in this series and in Final Fantasy specifically.
Yeah.
Now, 11 and 14, that's a horse of a different color. Those are MMOs. Using external resources is par for the course in an MMO. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and among other things is that generally, like, I hate to say it, but games nowadays, and this is getting into tirade time.
Uh-oh.
I hate to say it, but games nowadays...
Your games these days.
Games nowadays either have, I want to say, way too much hand-holding, and I'm stating this in kind of the best way I can put it, is I look at, like, Dragon Age, and it's like, oh, let's explain everything, and you can't skip these tutorials, at least generally.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, then it's like, it expects you to have memorized all the mechanics. And if you don't, it then reminds you again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have the complete opposite, where, oh, we give you the information, like, we don't, we expect you to figure out everything by yourself.
We put you into the game. What more do you want from us?
We give you the tutorial is basically, here's the controls, and that's it.
On a single splash screen before you start playing.
Either on a splash screen or by a brief in-game notes. The games that are...
Or sometimes even just having to go into options and looking at control settings.
Yep. The games that would be the most gregarious and recognizable of this is the Soulsborne series. Things like Dark Souls or Bloodborne. Which...
Yep. Whereas if you want to go for the, I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through where you need to go, one of the worst offenders nowadays, as much as I love them, is once again the Final Fantasy series.
Mm-hmm.
Considering that now, and this game gets a lot of hate, and I think most of it is, unfair, because we all know that there's worse out there. But 13. I do have to admit that essentially the first 2 hours of gameplay, I'm phrasing it that way because I'm talking about the gameplay first 2 hours, not the cutscene first 2 hours. So realistically, the first 8 hours of the game.
Also,
are very, okay, you're going to walk here and you're going to do this. The reason you're going to do this is because it does that. Okay, do you know how to do this? Do you remember how to do this? I told you 5 seconds ago. Okay, you did it. Okay, now here's what you're gonna do next. Okay, this is how you control this. Okay.
As a brief thing, I know we can get a character now, and as a heads up, this character, if I think we can get now, or am I jumping ahead?
There is a character we'll be getting like right now, but it literally follows the breadcrumbs.
Oh, okay. Because the character who I'm going to be affectionately calling the D-Twins, I thought we could get him now before.
No, absolutely not.
So we have to get Jubblies first.
we do have to get her first. There was some, after you get her, I believe you can come directly back here and hear about a certain issue in the mine.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go in and you find the twin.
Also, should I level up Reyna a little bit? Because while Claude is 7, Reyna's 3. 4 now.
I mean, it's not super amazingly critical, but just a little bit.
But yeah, I was trying to remember if we could get the D-Twins, or if we had to wait for Jubblies.
Yeah, because the way the chain goes is you do have to get her first because I mean, you technically don't have to get her if you intend on not getting her. Like, you can skip her and still get him, but skipping her is a poor last choice.
Yeah, and technically I'm kind of thinking about going after the wife. As a heads up, if we want to go for the wife and husband, which...
well, if you go for the D-Twins, you cannot go for the wife.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
You physically cannot get those two together.
And that's the thing, is that... I was thinking about getting the D-Twins because technically he's fairly good early on, but the wife and husband are actually really, really great late game. If I recall correctly.
I mean, I'm not gonna deny you. She does power up fairly well. He's not horrible. I personally have always kept. If I usually with my quad playthrough, I always keep D-Twins in my main line on my front line because he actually does continue to heal up very well, provided that you're going through crafting weapons for him.
Yeah. Okay. Reyna at level 4 is pretty okay.
Yeah.
And we just hit the town of Cross, but as a heads up, if people were paying attention to the quotations world map as it was going darker, no, there is no daylight cycle in game. It
is plot night.
It is plot night, that was a programmed day or night thing. Because if you got farther away from Cross, you actually... Did it actually get... It would brighten right back up.
Yeah, I've gone all over this continent before this event, and it always brightens right back up. Because one of the things I used to do, because I'm a horrible person, is I would actually take just these two all the way over to the sea, leveling them and trading them as I go to get him pickpocketing. And then get the gloves, and then get the box, and then get a badass like 2500 attack power sword for him, and then just cheese the rest of the first continent.
Yeah.
But that's also because I'm a monster, and that's probably not the sort of thing we would do on stream.
It's probably not the best thing to do right now.
Well, especially because part of cheesing the 2500 attack power weapon is first you have to grind for a good hour or so. So right there, you're already, because you've got to get enough levels to get enough SP to unlock pocketing, apparently.
Pickpocketing.
That too, but I like picketing better. I shall stand inside. It should not be shaking their honor.
Okay. Could you please repeat? Because you kind of faded out there, sir.
Me?
Yes, at least on my end.
Oh, sorry. I stand in solidarity with Pox. I shall picket for them.
Okay. That's what I thought I heard, but it was just like, weird robot disjointed voice.
Awesome. No, that was just my natural voice coming out. I've actually been secretly replaced by an android, but shh, don't tell anyone.
At least I have to take my own personal advice. In this case, do not fist androids.
Oh, I appreciate that. I wasn't really expecting to be fisted this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, mature humor here.
Yep, completely and utterly adult humor.
And then, but yeah, so then after several hours of grinding to get the SP necessary to unlock pickpocketing and to skill it appropriately, because if it's only a level 1 skill, you're going to have like a 90% chance to fail.
Yep.
And then you also have to grind. While you're grinding, you're saving up cash to get the gloves, which are not cheap
Either.
and then you get to go to the town in question, which, as a side note, I'm not saying it's the same town as in the screenshot I used for today's advertisement, but it's totally the same town.
Yeah. Also, we just mentioned they just mentioned a character we're not getting ever.
Oh, did they? Oh, yeah. They mentioned Big Brother.
Yep.
If you play as Reina, you automatically recruit Big Brother as part of your playthrough. And he is amazing. Like,
However,
can we talk for a minute about just how amazing Diaslok is? Because he is amazing.
before we do that, I will have to mention, if you play as Claude, he comes off as a huge ass.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, because I mean, he is Reina's big brother, quote unquote big brother. It's one of those kind of civilizations where if you grew up together, then you're that kind of quote unquote siblings. Well, I mean, we did the same thing too, so I don't know why I'm saying one of those civilizations.
Yeah.
But it's neighbors that were also relatively close friends with an age gap difference. So he took on the role of a protective older brother, etc., 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 so on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And
so he sees it as, you know, there's this weird random guy who showed up out of nowhere and who is getting super close to his little sister all of a sudden. And what the hell does this guy think he's doing? Yeah, if I was in his circumstance, I would probably be like, back off, bitch. So I get it.
Yeah, they're essentially I would say that this is similar to the Japanese idea of, hello, Daichi.
Daichi.
Yeah, you didn't miss much. We were just pretty much griping and talking about various aspects of both the game and characters.
Yep. So far, a little bit of private action, just a little bit of, you know, cutscene and flavor.
But yeah, didn't they also change his last name from Flack to Flax in the PSP remake?
I think it's just always been Flock. I don't think they changed it. Most of the naming conventions didn't change that much or at all between this version to the PSP remake.
Yeah. I know that the PSP remake of the first game, which is an SNES title, oh god, did it go through so many revisions. But then
there were a lot of changes there, but that was also because a lot of what was going on with the original SNES title were limitations based on bit size.
And plus the factor that the only quotations English version of the game is technically a fan translation, which means that they're not the official spellings of it.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's essentially one step further away than Woolseyisms. Although, actually slightly more faithful, so, you know, good on them.
Admittedly, I have seen some friends.
I won't go into a rant on Ted Woolsey, though. That's not this thing.
No, we will save Woosley for some other time. Uh, whether it's good or bad. Because trust me, one of my favorite games apparently is one of Woosley's utmost hated memories.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. That son of a submariner did get a couple things right.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. It's worse. Because that one, he had time to do that. And I fully like that. And he liked 6.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying that, did a few things right.
Yeah.
That was a good thing.
But no, the game I'm talking about is Secret of Mana. Which...
Oh, yeah.
That one is... It's a great game. I hate to say it, but... I really feel sorry for what happened with Woosley, because he was technically the translator on it, and... He basically had to do a slapdash job on Secret of Mana.
Speaking of which, I'm presuming that because I know they did the PS4 report, did they clean up the translations?
It has not been released yet, as far as I recall.
I was pretty sure it had that, actually.
Technically, you can check, but last time I saw, you can pre-order it, but it's not out until next year, January.
I will check right now. It's gonna be faster if I just search. Which of course means I can't see the stream right now, but we'll be fine.
We are taking a brief.
Coming 3/31/18.
So, March.
Wow, that's even further out.
I thought it was January.
Can we just talk about for a moment the fact that they're re-releasing a game that is older than half of the average YouTube audience?
Yeah.
And charging $40 for it?
Yeah. I will say that technically, from what I know... Yeah, Daichi just popped in, and he's probably right on this. Is that... lucky. He's basically mentioning that the translation was different, because Daichi went to PAX this year, and there was a playable demo. I'm not sure if he got to play it or not, since, if I recall, you were working PAX, Daichi? Yeah, and from the various gameplay briefs, I can mention that there were some differences that I noticed, since I'm one of those types that kind of, not necessarily fully memorizes a game's dialogue, but I kind of memorize generally the gist of things.
Okay, so the trailer is saying developmental footage shown, and it's showing what could well be cutscenes that are in much more of a
cinematic.
Well, I was gonna say more of a cell-shaded kind of look.
Yeah.
Almost like if you played World of Final Fantasy, almost kind of like that.
Yeah. Also,
I don't know if that's actually what gameplay is going to look like as well. Oh wait, yes. Gameplay is definitely using that same type of graphics. It looks like it may still be using a true
isometric
right
Yeah.
direction. So it may still be using a more old school directions like that, but it definitely the graphics, including combat, because I'm seeing a couple of combat scenes here, like for example, fighting Rabbites,
and I think they show off the Mantis Ant. Also, back to the game at hand. We have our first mention.
Talking about a game we're actually playing. What sort of madness is this?
Well, I was about to mention the factor that we have our first mention of the heraldic enchantress.
The heraldic arts.
Which, didn't they change it to symbology?
Yeah, in the later games it's called symbology. In the earlier games it's called heraldic arts or heraldry.
Yeah.
That said, I don't recall. I think in Second Departure they still used heraldry.
Yeah.
Which, of course, Second Departure is the PSP port for this. For those who may not.
I think I just found a weird, maybe a hiccup in the translation.
Uh-oh.
Wait, no, I'm wrong. I just read it wrong. Because it says, a pair of short swords coated with the scales of poisonous moths. And I thought that said, the scales of poisonous mouths. And I'm like, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, moths. Well, given the playthrough you're planning on doing, smaller is not going to be a useful weapon.
Yeah. Because smaller is, as a heads up, for the D-twins.
Which, since we're not getting him, and we're not, we're not getting him, and we're not really going to meet him to a large degree. So we can lift spoiler on him.
To explain, the character that we're referring to, his official name is Ashton, and the reason I'm calling him the D-twins is because when you meet him, he's a twin swordsman. However, he's in the middle of a mission to basically kill a twin-headed dragon. But we kind of interrupt in a matter of fashion, and he gets possessed by the dragon, which then shows up as two dragons side by side beside him, aka the D-twins.
Coming out of his shoulder blades. Next to them coming out of his shoulder blades.
And as such, he's a good attacker, but he's not necessarily...
amazing attacker.
Really good. But the one thing, as we can see here, his swords are expensive.
Well, and honestly, I mean, it's not that bad. Yeah, it's more than we can afford right now, but his swords end up becoming relatively comparable to what you're equipping on Claude, price-wise, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, and
but
I'm equipping certain things. I'm not getting, like, the weapons just yet, because there's one... I'm trying to remember which shop it's in that I want to grab. Ah, here it is! The best place to do to waste money is the skill shop.
Yes, absolutely, at all times, yes. In this game specifically, the later ones don't really do the same kind of thing with skills, but in this one specifically, you buy skill books at the skill shops, and it is, at any time when you enter town, your priority one should be, if they have tomes that you don't have, get them.
Yeah.
And then you can talk to the explainer to find out what's in each of the books. You can talk to the advisor to hear advice, but it's kind of generic. And then you can buy the books. And those books are, as you unlock and combine different skills, is what gives you your, dang it.
Essentially gives you the specialties. The super specialties.
No, that's the next tier up.
Yeah.
I want to say the crafts.
Oh, the crafting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Crafting, familiar, things like that.
Also, and this is...
Talents. No, not talents. Maybe it is specialties.
Specialty.
So you have the skills, which is what you're buying and unlocking with SP. You have the special. Yeah, it is specialties. The specialties are the crafts or the various other things that you put together. And then the super specialties is when you have multiple people with multiple of those specialties, you can put it all together and create some really intense stuff.
Yeah. As a
Like one example is you unlock musical instruments. You unlock what is it? Music? Because music instrument plus music knowledge is nothing. Not you combine those to get one, and then you get writing, and then or authoring, and then you combine those two across enough characters to get orchestra.
yeah, and I'm trying to remember is if I buy skill sets from the store and I get a new character, do I keep those skill sets on the new
Yes.
character? Which
Yes.
this is the one reason why I didn't go out and buy Claude a new sword, is the factor that as of right now, the full, or money in this case, I knew I was going to be buying a couple pieces of armor just to make sure Reyna wasn't squishy and Claude could survive just a teensy bit more.
Yep.
But
And like we said, number one priority always skills.
is skills, because those
Another cool thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
is the factor that skills will allow you to do a lot of things.
Oh yeah. Another thing with skills is certain skills also based on your level in that skill will also increase a stat by a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
So, like kitchen knife increases your strength because, well, you're really good at using a chopping with a knife, so you're developing those muscles. It's not always a perfect analogy, but some of them make a lot of sense. Strength is a decent one because it's not a huge amount of strength. But so you're unlocking, you're improving your characters. You're also unlocking new. I keep wanting to say like abilities because essentially that's what they are. Like being able to cook. Like Reyna is an amazing cook. Right now she's not the greatest cook, but she's an amazing cook.
Let's see here. We have, I believe it is actually specialties, because Reyna here has specialty level cooking 3-star.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah, because so the stars are how many. The stars are how many different skills go into it. Reyna has 3 stars in it because she has all 3. She has kitchen knife.
She has recipe, good eye, and kitchen knife already kind of filled out. Whereas
so as long as you have at least one in each, you have that unlocked. Whereas if we look at something else, you'll see blank stars, which means that that ability is not trained. It'll tell you what it is if it's available to train, but it's simply not trained yet.
it's talent that we're thinking of.
Talent, okay. No, talent is their innate ability.
Yeah.
Oh, which talent, and I think I mentioned this last time as well, but it bears repeating.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a character like Claude does not have sense of taste. Reyna, on the other hand, 99% of the time starts with the talent sense of taste, which is part of what makes her an amazing cook. If you do not have the ability, if you don't have the talent, I mean, and you have the ability to make it, when you try to make something, it's gonna just come out gross. Like if you try and make a drink right now with Claude, provided that he had everything unlocked to do so, a drink would turn into like bitter or sour milk, usually.
Mysterious drink.
So it's not. It's fun.
Wait, I just picked something up.
Which identify as another ability.
Huh.
But so it's still functional, but it's not good with the cooking items. Just like if you try and make something with smithing, which is also something that you unlock.
Yeah.
And you don't have its originality, and there's a couple of originality, dexterity, and one other. If you don't have all the abilities, you're more likely to make like a lump of iron, which is completely worth it.
And trust me, crafting early on, I think the worst offender for crafting in any game is not this one. No, this one's very okay. It's freaking Star Ocean 3.
No, Battle War still goes to Final Fantasy 11.
Okay, well, I'm talking in a single-player type of crafting game.
Fair enough.
Because I think there's one part of Star Ocean 3 that you literally are forced to go into crafting that literally, if you've never done any of it, you spend at least 2 hours trying to figure everything out before you can actually do it, and then you can still fail. And
that sounds like Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah.
Sounds like Final Fantasy 11.
And we're gonna go see the king, and I think after this we get to meet, shall we finally reveal her name? Or shall we wait until she actually shows up? Michael? Michael, check your mute button.
Sorry, yeah, I was on mute. Hello again. I would say for characters we actually intend to unlock, there's no harm in addressing them as they come onto screen.
Yeah.
But for characters that we are going to end up skipping or missing because we're playing on one person's playthrough as opposed to the other.
Yeah.
For those ones, we can go ahead and reveal. Oh, and like we did with Dios, by the way, if you were playing as Rena, you would definitely get Dios as one of your characters. Although, as much as I love Dios, and I do, I mean, he is definitely a hardcore certified badass.
And I just...
But
I just picked up 2 items that I just bought, so I feel stupid.
Woohoo! Yeah, I forgot about that actually. I should have reminded you, but I forgot to.
Yeah, but then again, I think we can use some... this is one of those games where you can take crafting items or pieces of armor and actually use them for crafting for later items. As it's specific items.
There are certain specific ones, but the other thing is that you can also take items and equip them to. A lot of items are usable by multiple characters.
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue most. But no, so yeah. But yeah, wow. I really just pseudo transitioned 3 times there in a row. I think that's a new achievement unlocked for me.
Which one?
No, the fact I just pseudo transitioned like that 3 times in a row. I think that's my new achievement. Anyways, while I definitely love Dios, and he is amazing as a striker, the fact that you're on Claude's playthrough means instead of him, you get someone else that we'll meet significantly later on. That I would actually argue, while early on may not be anywhere near as strong, definitely ramps up his game, mid to late game, to become one of the strongest characters in the game.
Is it the I'm a genius? Or
I could have done it so much easier if everyone would just stay out of my way.
yeah, it's boy genius.
Yep.
And yet, as a heads up, these nicknames are actual character traits.
Yeah, usually.
I mean,
aside from your nickname of our next member joining, which is essentially breasticles.
Boobicles / Busty McBoobs Busty McBoobs face. However, she
Rex.
admittedly, these characters do actually get really good characterization later on. It's just when you first encounter them, they're stereotypical, oh my god, what the hell? I think
you also have to keep in mind the era.
Yeah.
Because in this era of storytelling, short of having a long, drawn-out cutscene at the beginning of each introduction, it would be really hard to give them a super fleshed-out 3D character from the moment you meet them.
Yeah. They did technically address some of this in the PSP remake, where they changed some of the dialogue, to kind of fit back in with the official canon, as well as at least tone down some of the stereotypicalness a bit.
Oh, I just thought of something. Given who our next PC is going to be, have you given any thought to giving her her special storyline, her special ending?
I'll be honest, I'm thinking about it, since the other options are the reporter, and if I really wanted to,
Really?
we have Boy Genius.
I've never actually done that connection.
Yeah, there's the reporter, which, since she's very late game, it's kind of hard to get out there. Or, one that I'm dreading is Girl Genius, if I go down that route. Which...
Well, you're not going down that route. We've already established he is going down that route without Ashton is meaningless.
Yes. So, instead we're going to go get the doctor.
We're not getting... Exactly. And then probably skip the naturalist.
Actually, no.
Remember, at that point, you're going to have to skip one. Because by that point, you're going to have Claude, Rena, Chesty McChesterson, the husband and the wife, the doctor, the reporter, and... Oh, wait a minute.
The naturalist.
And Boy Genius.
And Boy Genius.
So, the only two that have become optional at that point, if you get husband and wife both, which it would be nonsense to only get one.
Yeah.
Once you get to that point, your only real options are either take the reporter or take the naturalist and leave the other one of those two behind.
Okay. I feel this is one of those, I get one... Oh, hey! I wonder who just showed up in the lower corner.
Huh.
That's an interesting looking sprite. Guess we'll never see that again.
Hula hoop dress that woman has.
The hula hoop around her shoulders and the weird one on her hat.
Yes. Surely she knows something about how to dress in an RPG.
Yep. I mean, freaking
Which
Claude.
means that she's just a common villager who we will never see again.
Yep. Versus Claude, who has to dress in a freaking, what, short jacket, an untucked black t-shirt, and pants? Like slacks?
Yeah, I was gonna say some kind of chinos. And of course, I don't think they're combat boots. I think those are actually like sneakers.
No, there is a... I want to say they're technically a type of... They're not, like, ankle-supported boots. They're a type of boot that doesn't have the ankle support at all. I've seen them, and I want to say they're called Chucks, but that's not right.
No, Chucks is definitely not right, because Chuck is a reference to Chuck Taylor's, which is the classic Converse canvas.
Yeah.
Apparently, trying to say classic Converse canvas or classic canvas Converse is really complicated for me to say because there's too many C sounds.
Yeah. But no, I think the shoes he has are... I feel they're basically just kind of... They're a type of boot, but they're not like ankle support boots or combat boots.
Or conversely, it could be the more futuristic kind that where you actually wear them close to the leg with the pant leg over them.
Yeah.
Because this would not be the first this would not be the first sci-fi game to say that humanity comes up with the type of boot like that in the future.
Mm-hmm. Or...
And if you actually look at the equipment that he equips, most of those are like true greed type boots.
Yeah, and given the factor that, as a heads up being previous military, the way we had to dress was boots. If you were in a working uniform, you had boots, but you put your pant leg and then a little kind of... It's nothing more than basically a rubber band that you tuck the cuff of your pant leg into, so it would cover the top of the boot, but it would not drag around your pant leg, looking horrible. And I cannot remember the name of it, but basically they would... You'd have the pants over the boots.
Well, there you go then. So I guess it's not just futuristic sci-fi.
Yeah.
I guess our modern military does the same thing.
And there's one part of this that we have not addressed at all. I just remembered. The anime.
Oh, the anime that's based on this game?
Yes, the Star Ocean anime.
Which I've actually never seen. I've never been able to find it to watch it.
I possibly have been able... I had a chance at it at a point, but I'm not sure if it's still going to be decent.
So anyone watching this and actually hearing the game, and again, I know I'm on a delay, so you probably heard the sound like about 20-25 seconds ago and said, what was that? That music plays whenever you get a key item.
Yep.
So the passport is a key item that is going to be very, very important to you throughout the first third of the game. Well, and by very, very important, I mean it literally flags your ability to access the second continent.
Yeah, and shall we start talking about other Star Ocean games while we get things kind of set up? because since Star Ocean 4, The Last Hope, which, as a heads up, was originally created to be a Xbox 360 exclusive game.
Which is why it's kind of weird to me, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll allow it. That it is now a PS4 and PC game.
As a heads up, it was one of the launch titles for Xbox 360, and not a launch, but it was a early game in its list that was developed by Square Enix to try and get Japanese customers interested in the Xbox. And in a sense, it was a horrible failure.
Well, in that sense, it was.
Because, one thing is that I think it was, 6 months later? Japan's like, fuck this, no. And so, basically, they created an international copy for PS3 users, which I think about a year and a half later that we at the States got for PS3.
Oh, hey, look, something strange is happening in the town square.
Oh, hey, it's mysterious hula hoop.
Yeah, it's the random hula hoop villager. It's so strange that she turned up again out of nowhere.
And mysterious green and purple guy who looks vaguely sickly. Who's obviously
It's just his hair that's green. It's just his hair that's green. It's not that bad.
No, it looks like he's got like green highlights on his boots and shoulder pads.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's not like there's any flesh that's glowing green.
Yeah, but technically his color palette is sickly colored. Purple and green is not healthy colors. Also, he's a heraldic wizard, and I think this will be Claude's first encounter with essentially symbology.
Yep.
And he rushes in like a freaking idiot hero.
Actually, no, that's not true. Because keep in mind that it is canon throughout the universe that symbology is something that Earth and thus the Federation definitely has in a different manner.
Yeah.
Daichi said Japan is very nationalistic when it comes to products they buy. Microsoft consoles are a tough sale, and agreed. That's honestly part of why it's the Xbox market has never been anywhere near as strong over there as it has over here.
And if I recall correctly,
it's much more likely to have a Nintendo or to have a PlayStation.
Yeah, and the one thing if I recall correctly, and Daichi, you can correct me, was that the series that actually got Japanese customers at least interested in buying a 360 was not the various Square Enix attempts or Mistwalker Studio attempts. It was Bandai Namco's Idolmaster series, as well as I think it was Forza that actually got Japanese audiences interested in it. And Daichi, you can completely correct me if I'm dead wrong on that. But
you're absolutely welcome to correct him. I mean, that's part of the course on this stream.
Yeah. Also, Claude is just poking a hornet's nest. And, asshole. Is firing off a asshole just basically got his ass handed to him.
Well, that's what he gets for trying to summon a giant nuclear holocaust in the middle of the town square. because there's no excuse for a spell time that's that long unless it is essentially a nuclear holocaust.
Ah,
Daichi, that doesn't sound wrong. Shmups were also really popular on the 360. I'm
yeah,
presuming shmup is shoot 'em ups.
yeah. Things like was I keep thinking of it's a shoot 'em up, and the entire thing was basically it was great. It was like Gradius, but with girls. I forget, but yeah, it
Like all the cave shooters came out for the 360.
yeah cave. So things like Mushihime. Uh, I know that they've remade freaking Ikaruga for 360 and PS3, even though it was a GameCube game. And so, for those of you who are watching, yes, this woman is our next party member.
May we introduce Celine Jules?
Who is very flirtatious, and I think in every Star Ocean game since this one, they've had one character who is essentially a magic user that has a that is basically very buxom.
Yes, I mean, I can't say for sure on 3 because unlike most of the universe, rather than taking Star Ocean 100% on merit at that point, I was still waiting to see how the installments played out.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard that End of Time was a great big horrible garbage fire, I said, okay, so that's the one I'm skipping. I actually don't have that many direct interactions with Fate Langot, as opposed to many others.
Since I did play it, and still own it for PS2, yes, there is. However, this is a big thing, is that, apparently Last Remnant and Infinite Undiscovery were good selling games.
And it's funny that those two are mentioned because those are also two that I've heard a lot of really good stuff about, and I have at various points bought and still own for my 360. That like my 360 are all currently gathering dust, and like my 360, I keep saying, well, eventually I'll dust it off and give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, whoops.
Oh, apparently Daichi's got a Google, so we may need to retcon what was just said.
And
not the covered in dust part, but the those being popular.
Last Remnant and Infinite Undiscovery. I have Infinite Undiscovery, Blue Dragon, and Vesperia.
Blue Dragon and Vesperia, which the Tales series has always been a really good draw internationally, but certainly in Japan as well.
Heavy, and the factor that technically Blue Dragon was essentially the dream team that created Chrono Trigger. Because Akira Toriyama did the character designs, both for
Blue Dragon.
For Blue Dragon. Nobuo Uematsu did all the musical composition. And I'm trying to remember the director for the original Final Fantasy.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Yeah, I could not say.
Yeah, but it was those three who created Chrono Trigger, and the original creator of Final Fantasy went on to basically create Mistwalker Studios. Last Remnant and Infinite were 3 and 4. And I will say, since I actually own a 360 with Tales of Vesperia, Blue Dragon, and Infinite Undiscovery.
Yeah, same here.
I have Last Remnant on Steam, so that's a thing. I have not played a lot of it, but I like Blue Dragon because it's definitely. Oh, there's one more that was kind of a sleeper hit, but I hate to say it, it was a sleeper hit for basically worldwide, which was not Infinite Undiscovery, but it's uh, it's not The Last Remnant either. It's one where the main character is an immortal. I can't.
See, at first my brain went Rogue Gallery, but I don't think that's it either.
Lost Odyssey. That's it.
Lost Odyssey. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I own that one too.
Basically, Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, Infinite Undiscovery, Last Remnant, were all kind of like games that were created to try and get interest in the 360. People got Blue Dragon and really liked it because A, it was essentially kind of an interesting spin on essentially and I would recommend to those who are not adverse to playing old school JRPGs to try out Blue Dragon. I'm not sure if it will ever get released off of the 360. However, good news, everybody! The Xbox One and the Xbox One X are completely backwards compatible. And Blue Dragon is on the list. So, I think you
So
can.
if you have an Xbone or an Xbonix, then you can actually backwards compatible Blue Dragon.
Yep. And there are side stories to Blue Dragon on the DS. But of the various RPG attempts on the 360, I hate to say it, it took a real long time before Japan actually really took an interest in it, even with big names behind it, like Square Enix or Bandai Namco. Because I think it was around the time that when Tales of Vesperia was announced as a 360 exclusive, which then got changed, that Japan started to take notice of it, because RPG titles that I have are Magna Carta 2, Blue Dragon, Infinite Undiscovery, Lost Odyssey, and Tales of the Vesperia, of which I am royally pissed, because I kind of wish that Bandai Namco released the international edition of it, of Tales of Vesperia for the PS3, because A, that added an extra character, as well as added a few extra things to the story to make quotations a little bit easier to understand. But no, that is not the case. It's still Japanese PS3 only. So you can import it, but it's going to be completely in Japanese.
Which is, of course, super useful to anyone who doesn't read kanji flawlessly.
Yep. So, as such, it's one of those things of when I played Till the End of Time, the buxom magic caster is weirdly essentially she's an advisor type, and in a weird way, she's very much a ninja. So, very reserved, very to the point and blunt. But... oh,
I actually tried Eternal Sonata, and it was actually it was definitely entertaining, but it just didn't hold my attention all the way through. Like I enjoyed it. It definitely was very fun, but it just did not hold my attention.
Yeah. I have Eternal Sonata on the PS3, which is essentially the quotations international edition, I think. And the one thing I can say about Eternal Sonata, very, very beautiful game. Because the sewer level, which is like the first level that you actually get to play, is almost mind-bogglingly beautiful. We're talking like lots of green. The game is very colorful, and it did have an interesting mechanic, but I hate to say Eternal Sonata was very, in a weird sense, sickeningly sweet about its plot. And as a heads up, the plot of Eternal Sonata is you are the main character is essentially Johann Sebastian Bach as he's dying. I'm not joking, because this is straight on the freaking box. Also, we finally got Celine's name in the game because I've not been pressing buttons, so... Whoops.
It's true. The chat is scrolling, or the in-game conversation is scrolling at the speed of nothing.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at this map that she got in an auction. That was a very expensive map and should lead us directly to a treasure. Because that's what she does. She's a treasure hunter.
Yep. Also getting back to the various buxom magic types. 4 was, oh god. I forgot her name, but she was the I'd want to say Ice Queen type character archetype.
She was very standoffish,
Yeah.
as personality-wise, so I could see that. As a description.
Mm-hmm.
She was, see, and that's the thing, is they always have kind of they all start from the same, essential mold of voluptuous caster.
Yeah.
And then they all build out in different directions. Like, for example, Celine is, she's very flirtatious, as a jokingly flirtatious, but she's also like super reserved. Like, if someone were to actually take all her flirtations at face value, she would be mortified.
Yeah.
The one in 4 is, like you said, is very much she does definitely develop a closeness with the rest of the party, but it's not something that well, I guess technically, because the voluptuous one in 4 wasn't even the nuker.
Yeah.
Well, what was she?
4?
No, she wasn't a nuker. She was a nuker. She was an ice queen. She was also very, her entire personality arc for the first, like, I'd say half of the game, from when you meet her on to like half of the remaining game later,
Yeah.
is very narrow and driven. And then 5, I want to say 5 was a throwback more to like Celine.
Yeah.
It's just very flirtatious.
The other thing is that the one in 5, I wouldn't say she's actually less flirtatious and more, like, I'd want to say very studious.
Maybe I'm confused. It's been a while since I played 5.
Yeah.
You've probably played 5 far more recently than I have. Actually, you have, because didn't you just say that you played it recently?
Yeah. Also, Celine comes with a few skills already kind of maxed out, like alchemy and metalwork.
Which is, pretty convenient. More importantly, though, what are her talents? This is the other thing. So after Steam, as you recruit, they actually are going to come with a certain amount of XP already.
Not in this case. Celine does not come with anything. As for Celine's talents...
That's what I said after her.
Yeah. As for Celine's talents, we have dexterity, sense of design, and writing ability.
And the Blessing of Mana, which doesn't actually have a thing use. It's just that only heraldic spellcasters have the Blessing of Mana, and only they can get it. So here's the other fun thing, though, and this is what I was starting to get to earlier.
Yeah.
We kind of got off track, but that happens. This stream is all about segues, as you all know.
Yep.
So as you're crafting, like say for example, my example earlier about Claude trying to make some carrot juice and instead ending up with bitter juice. So, sorry, lost audio for a second there. Love it when the mic falls out. Any rate, so you make the bitter juice. Now you have a relatively low chance, on a failed creation or on a successful. Anytime you attempt to create something that you do not have the talent for, you have a relatively low chance to unlock that talent.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. Every time you unlock a talent by means of crafting, you automatically gain 100 SP on that character.
Yep.
So having a character join your party that has relatively few talent is actually pretty much a blessing, because you have because you can pump extra SP out of them, which means you can develop them faster and then develop your super specialties faster. And there is, I mentioned earlier, orchestra. Later in the game, when you unlock orchestra, you actually unlock to where one of the effects of orchestra, the main effect of orchestra, is any item creation you're doing is significantly more likely to succeed if it is possible. Now, what I mean by that is like things like compounding and cooking. There's a lot of ingredient combinations that are not possible, that you could not possibly do and get a result other than a failure.
Yep.
But with orchestra going, as long as your result can turn out to a success, you have like a 99.9% with no and even with the rare stuff, you still have a 60-70% of a good result.
Yep.
So overall, it's good stuff.
Looks like we won.
Yeah. And should I start actually spending some skill points for Claude?
I would strongly recommend it. Like I was saying earlier, the fastest, easiest way to unlock more SP would be probably Sense of Taste. So it may be worth your while to go the Sense of Taste route to try unlock cooking and try and power him through getting that first 100 payout.
Okay, so...
Not to mention Kitchen Knife is helpful for him because strength.
Yep. I feel like, would whistling help?
Whistling is one of the components of familiar, but we don't have the other components yet. I don't think.
Okay.
Which is empathy, I think. Oh, wait, whistling also goes into perseverance.
Okay. Let's see here. Whistling.
So perseverance, there's a couple special ones in there. The specials.
Yeah.
The special specialties. Perseverance is definitely one of the special ones. So you unlock with patience and like one or two other pieces, something called practice. Each character can turn on practice independently, and if you turn it on, it pushes their stats and their combat ability down to by a small degree, but also significantly increases their XP per battle. So if a battle's worth 50 XP, they're going to be fighting as though they were a couple levels lower, but they're going to, instead of getting 50, they're going to be closer to 100.
Yep.
So it definitely pays off. But when you get enough characters with practice and whatever the secondary was, you unlock perseverance, which is another super specialty.
Yeah.
That makes it so every time you gain SP from leveling, that XP is increased.
I'm trying to remember how to actually use skills now.
It's go into inventory and push, I want to say triangle or the equivalent.
Ah. Item creation. There we go. Okay, cooking.
Where your super specialties live, as you probably just saw a moment ago.
Yeah.
Although it's obviously grayed out at the moment.
And I don't have anything for cooking, so Claude can't get stuff.
Nothing to work with. Oh, that's the other thing, and that's actually a really good thing. With cooking specifically,
be careful.
It's all out of a single ingredient. There's no combining multiple ingredients.
We have a full score of this.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to do a little bit of grind. Should we? Yeah, we've got maybe a half hour. I'll go a little bit into this cave, but I'll probably
as far as the first save point.
Yeah.
Or save point. Actually, I don't know. This cave isn't that big. You could probably run the entire cave.
Yeah. Also, God, I forgot Celine's thing about Thunderbolt.
Oh yeah, she loves casting.
Thunderbolt!
You can change their for your backup characters. You can change, well, I mean really for all your characters. You can change how often they do certain things. They have various settings.
Yeah.
Because of course you're only, as you've obviously seen by a long time ago, all the way up until now, you only really directly control whoever you're on at the moment, which you can switch. You can change them to manual, but then they'll literally just stand there and do nothing if you don't give them a command.
Yeah.
Or you can go into settings and say, hey, so Celine, I want you to conserve MP, which is useful later on because later on she's going to get abilities or spells that cost like 30% of her MP per cast, and she'll be just like, oh, hey, look, I've got this spell available.
Yeah.
All that overkill.
We have a full score of this.
Or like you can change it to where instead of Rena just standing there when you have no healing needed, you can actually make it to where she will intersperse attack spells as well. Which at this point, I don't know if I would recommend it.
Yeah.
no choice.
But
Thunderball! Yeah!
I still can't get over Thunderbolt.
You're
Looks
too
like we won.
easy. Oh, good.
Yay, Reina's gained 2 levels so far.
Yay. Now, and this is something we did definitely mention last stream, but again, it bears mentioning once more. Is as you play through, obviously by now we've heard probably a good 75, 80 different voice clips.
Unexpectedly weak.
There are, I want to say 1,000 demons, or it's somewhere in the realm of 1,000. Excuse me. Somewhere in the realm of 1,000 different voice clips throughout the game.
Yep.
Because you have each of your possible playable characters, which even in this playthrough, like how we mentioned before, Diaz, we won't be able to get him. There will be a short period where you will still see him in combat. And when you see him in combat, you'll still be able to pick up the voice clips he uses.
We have a full score with this.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the requirements to unlock the upper tier difficulties is to have a certain amount of voice clips unlocked. So in order to get the ultimate difficulty, you essentially have to have every single voice clip unlocked, which can take definitely a couple of places. Because not only do you have voice clips for every single playable character, but you also have for certain signature villains later on in the game, which you'll know what I mean when you see it. Those signature villains also have voice clips, or at least some of them do.
Yeah.
So you also unlock those voice clips by fighting them.
Here's the enemy. Heads up.
And if they choose not to use a certain attack, or you kill them without use that attack, then you won't get that voice clip.
We have a full score with this. I deserve this.
Ah, Celine has learned Ray. Oh god, I remember that. Okay.
Which means there goes what's left of her MP.
Yeah.
Because now instead of Thunderbolt, it's not going to be Ray. Ray.
Yeah. Also, if people were watching the stream, we actually picked up another thing that's in this game, which is unidentified items.
Yep. So there's an identify skill,
Are you ready?
Things will work out.
which I don't believe we have unlocked yet. I
Ray!
don't believe we even have the skills to unlock.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a combination of a couple things. First of all, now as we've played so far, we've picked up at least a couple spectacles. Because at lower levels they drop from the monsters called Funny Feet.
Yep.
Did
I'm
she
good.
just pass Ray back to back?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, what I was saying about conserve MP might be a good idea. Because you only got one more blackberry. It's combat, not options.
Equipment or skill?
No, combat.
Got
The
it.
option above data.
Ah, right. Strategy. Conserve MP?
Yes. Conserve MP will make it where she will use less expensive spells where it's appropriate, and she won't get super spammed. Whereas
Espe-
attack till all MP's gone is she will spend every single drop of MP. If she sees a single funny thing, she will use her biggest MP to take it out.
And wow, the first thing she uses is Ray.
Fireball!
Well, it's also multiple decently strong targets, but
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't use it a second time.
Yeah.
In fact, now she's actually using Firebolt, which is also a more conservative cast. Now, this game does have something very nice, and something that as our team gets stronger, it'll start popping out more often, and especially as we get the points into stamina, or that we get the points in stamina from danger time.
Here's the enemy.
Your stamina
Be careful.
also determines how much HP and MP you automatically recover at the end of the battle, based on how difficult and how long the battle is. So if you have a high stamina and you complete a relatively easy battle relatively quickly, you can get a ton of HP and MP back for all your characters, which is obviously really good, especially when you have Celine over here burning through her MP like she's never heard of how expensive blackberries are.
Yeah, which, if I recall, blackberries were like...
I mean, they're not crazy expensive, but it's
Ray!
you definitely don't want to burn through them that fast. I mean, well, the way you play with items, you probably do, but you're gonna burn your full pretty fast if you do that.
Yeah.
Because we've had our arguments already before on this stream about how I feel about items versus how you feel about items.
And to me, in this case, like, the blackberries, blueberries, and aquaberries are a small item. So, technically, I'm not really bleh. But, there are some items that are... Oh, God. And, now she's not really going to be casting a lot.
Yeah, because she's kind of broke at the moment on MP.
Yeah.
And that's the other challenge, is that means that she's going to stand there until she gets MP back, because she's burned through it a little too fast. But once again, I mean, there's only so much you can do about that.
Ray!
Or she could cast Ray first thing off and take care of most of these guys.
Are you okay?
But yeah, the spells generally fall into two categories. You have your smaller, faster spells, like her Firebolt and Thunderbolt and Windblade. And then you have her big splashy spells like Ray. As you get later in the game, you get a lot more big splashy spells and a lot fewer, and you don't really get very many more of the tiny spells.
Heads up. I have no choice.
And, oh, wow. I got a critical!
Ray!
Now, once we start getting into compounding, we can start taking those blackberries and blueberries and aquaberries and make some really useful stuff out of them.
Yep. And I feeling I kind of screwed up and missed a couple of chests, so I'm gonna go back and punch things.
The enemy.
I have no choice. Windblade! Fireball!
There are also other options where you can actually turn off attacks. So, if I really wanted to, I could tell
You can
Celine...
actually put them just directly on manual, and they can't do anything until you tell them to.
Oh, no. No, 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 no. I can leave them as an automatic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Where with spells where you can turn on or off certain spells, which is also very useful.
So, if I wanted to use Windblade, Thunderbolt, or Firebolt, but not Ray, bleh, I can just turn it straight off. And I may just do that right now, actually. Because
And
Ray,
it may not be the worst that we've had.
yeah.
Here's the enemy. Better be careful.
Considering that right now Claude is actually basically one-shotting a lot of these guys, except for maybe the slimes.
Oh, which speaking of slime, so we're probably not going to get a chance to see that in this cave, but slimes have a very interesting mechanic in this game called mitosis,
Here's the
which,
enemy.
as you can tell by that awkwardly exasperated groan, they love using.
Considering that the reason why that exasperated groan exists is because of the fact that I remember doing this at a low level and spending a good 20-minute fight. Because they just kept reproducing and I wasn't doing a lot of the output. So, yeah, I hate that with a passion.
Heads up.
Things will work out. I think.
Windblade.
Air slash. Shooting star.
Yeah. Then again, at the same time, when you have those fights where it's like, oh, by the way, you have actually defeated 500,000 slimes in this battle because they just kept reproducing over
Work out.
and over.
I think.
And then you get the end screen and it says, oh, congratulations, you got 500 billion XP. Fight.
Yeah. It was one of those things of, like, it got me caught up to a decent level, but I was like...
Oh, not to mention they also get you to the point where you can actually start dealing with them in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
Here's the enemy.
I think the worst one that I had was these worm things.
Windblade. Windblade.
Worm things are a little irritating, but they're not that bad. At least in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it was one of the recolors late in the game that it was much more annoying. Why is there...
I mean, in fairness, they usually are much more annoying late in the game.
Yeah. Also, skeleton with a teddy bear in a cave.
Here's the enemy.
Things will work out. I think.
Well, you've never heard the phrase, wherever he falls there shall he be buried? Or, well, I guess in this case, not buried?
Yeah. Oh, I was just thinking, it's like, why was he buried with a teddy bear?
Maybe he wanted to be. Are you shaming him for his love for his teddy?
No.
Okay. Because you shouldn't shame him for his love for his teddy.
Also, for save point and midway point, I think through the dungeon. Through the
Actually,
dungeon.
no. I think it's like a 90% point in this case.
Yeah.
Because I think it's literally just one more room in.
Secret passage.
Sorry, not sorry that I just spoiled the fact that there's a secret passage.
Yeah, but then again, that's kind of a typical thing with treasure maps.
Yeah. The treasure isn't visible in this room. I don't see the door in this room. What? There must be a secret passage in this room.
And I think this is probably the first time somebody actually addresses that Rena's ability of healing is actually really unique. Because heraldic. I used to say heraldric, but that's not the right term. Heraldic arts is, in this case, much more combat oriented.
Well, and that's another thing that it varies, and that's something that in the extended Star Ocean universe, as in those of us who have played more than just the one Star Ocean, we've seen as you go through the different games, heraldry or symbology are used in different ways in different places. So recovery magic is in fact common on some other worlds.
Yep.
It's just there are some worlds where there's no symbology whatsoever. There's some worlds where symbology is used as a science, like on Earth.
Yeah.
Because they actually use symbology to power like the warp drives. There are some worlds like Expel where symbology is almost exclusively, or at least predominantly, combative.
Yeah.
And then there are worlds where it's, combative and recovery.
Oh.
So as you go through the different worlds, you discover different things.
As a heads
Now,
up, this is getting into the same thing, is that most of the time, symbology, heraldry, and the various other names, usually the way it works is that if it's used in a form of, unlike science where everything's kind of inscribed at a most micro level, generally the casters will have the spells essentially inscribed upon them. And
Yep. Which is why you see that Celine has a lot of very intricate and interesting tattoos all over her various body parts.
yes. Whereas Rena, it's kind of implied that she doesn't have those.
Yeah, it's certainly never shown anywhere. And she never references them as, oh, hey, cool, I have those too. But then she also wasn't raised as a heraldic wizard.
Yep.
Because her magic, her restorative magic, her restorative heraldry is something that is innate and inborn to her, as opposed to something studied like with heraldic wizards.
Yep. Which is why you'll, like, in the greater canon, you'll find that some people have basically built-in symbology generators in their bodies, or at least somehow a way of actually creating symbology without actually having it inscribed or indelled upon either items or themselves.
Yeah, as kind of like almost a point of reference. It's not a perfect one, but it works. For those of you, you know who you are, who are fans of Full Metal Alchemist.
Yep.
It's very similar to what you find out with Ed, that he has, actually transmutation circles on his hands.
Well,
which is why he's able to close the circle.
Actually, in this case, if I recall correctly, and this is based off of the manga, it's less of he has the symbols in his hands, it's the factor that he kind of has a forbidden knowledge of creating the basically alchemic circle internally to his body, which is
right, it did go that direction in Brotherhood. I think I've got that off of the original manga.
Yeah, is the factor that by him
not manga, but the original anime.
Yeah, but in the original manga and in Brotherhood, they basically explain it is by him clapping, he's completing the circle and then doing the alchemy. Whereas all the other alchemists that don't have this knowledge, they have to have an alchemic circle either somehow inscribed, stitched, etched,
like for example,
carved,
with Mustang's glove, or
Armstrong's gauntlets, where they're pretty much engraved.
Yeah.
Or can I say a spoiler for a character?
Honestly, I think the statute of limitations is expired, and I think that's actually who I was thinking of, not Ed. Because I think I know where you're going.
Scar has essentially a alchemic circle tattooed on his entire body, which is why
Yeah.
he can do it that way. And he's not the only one that has it tattooed.
Yeah, you have what's his name? Not I can't remember his name. The Psycho Fire one.
Yeah, I forget his name. And we are at
But-
150, so do we want to try and do it?
Oh yeah, we got time for the boss. We can do the boss and come back out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Daichi, yeah, that's absolutely correct. And thank you both of you for correcting me. I was not thinking of Ed. I was thinking of, and again, I don't remember his name, so hopefully you can share that.
Yeah.
Because apparently, Asher is drawing a blank as well. But
Wait.
the Psycho Fire one that has the tattoos on his hand that
Yeah.
essentially does, and it creates an explosion.
Yeah.
Here's the enemy.
Things will work out. I think.
But yeah, Ed knows how to do it because of the fact that it's forbidden knowledge
They were
and because of the gate.
Whereas Al does not, because well, he didn't really get the knowledge from the gate. He just got brought back from the gate,
Yeah, and admittedly, in
sort of, partly.
the original run, he learns how to do it when he becomes the Philosopher's Stone. But in Brotherhood and the manga, he never really does.
Really quick, switching the topic back
Yep.
to the game at hand, because I saw you pick up the item heart barriers. So I was going to mention there are also books in this game that you can use to increase your skill in a certain skill by 1 level, as long as the skill is under 5. You can't use it to increase above 5. So, for example, the book Heart Barriers, I don't recall which one that is, but it increases one of the skills. You have to have the skill available for training, and you have to have the skill below level 5. But you can use it to unlock, to get an extra level on that skill. And later on, when you get to authoring, you can actually have someone who has a skill above 5 create a book, just in the same books.
Also, I just remembered that you can actually skip this boss by not opening this one chest.
Yeah, but what's the fun in that?
Yeah.
They look pretty
I mean, it's not even a challenging boss. I mean, maybe a little bit more so since Celine has been just leading all of her MP out.
Ouch.
Oh, yeah, that attack.
Okay, if I recall.
My body.
You have one more push. Oh god, now rain is down.
Yeah,
Oh, this is ending badly.
yeah.
This is ending particularly badly. You don't have a smelling pulse, I presume.
Let's see here. Cure poison, mandrake. Heal. I think lavender could?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think lavender is only usable on alive targets.
Yeah.
Fireball.
Sorry, Rena.
Because there's Resurrection Bottle, Resurrection Mist.
My strength!
There's another one like that, and then there's Smelling Salts.
Yeah. Should I redo this?
I would say let's go ahead and call the stream, and then you can redo it off stream.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't want to sit there and spam that fight on stream.
Yeah. So in this case.
So next time when we come back, we'll pick up from where we left off. This time with all three having survived that combat.
And probably got a few good things in. So that's the one reason why I kind of dreaded doing that fight was dying to that fight so many times. But
I've actually never died to that fight. I don't know.
I'm a horrible player.
On boss fights, I'm usually very spammy on the killer moves, and I don't think you used a single killer move. So that might be part of it too. Because like I usually will sit there and spam twin slash.
Yeah.
Or maybe not twin slash. I don't know if you have that one yet.
Maybe. I'd have to double check. So in this case,
thank you as always for tuning in tonight.
Yep. Always. We will be streaming on Sunday, so that will be me, Justin, and Eddie, and we're going to be doing Nier Automata. So tune in on Sunday, roughly around noonish, Arizona Standard Time, to watch Justin flail about on Nier Automata.
Which, of course, if you follow us on here on Twitch, you'll be able to get it much more accurate than thereabouts. You'll get notified as soon as we go live.
Yes, especially since sometimes we encounter hardware or timing issues because traffic. But
it does happen.
As such, keep an eye. Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even though Daichi was the most vocal of us in the chat, if you joined us but didn't really say anything, thank you, and we hope to hear from you soon, or at least please continue to watch us. And thanks, and good evening, everybody.
Bye.
Night.